there enough independent thinking that will get us out? Dr. Margaret Simms of the Urban Institute is with us. On Man in the Middle, as is Med Yanis of the International Institute of Management. He also joins us. Dr. Simms, we heard the phrase trickle-down economics during the Reagan administration. The theory, although faulty, said that if the big companies, the big guys do well, it'll trickle down to the communities. We know now that that was a falsehood. But we do know that in times of prosperity, when people have jobs, other issues like crime crime and drugs become less of issues in urban and poor communities. What do you think is the cycle for this downturn for it to start affecting communities, poor communities, where these will once again be issues, national issues?
Well, I think certainly we have to be concerned about how soon our communities get some relief, you might say, from the current situation. There are signs that there's some relief working through the stimulus package, but it's coming very slowly and not yet affecting very many people. I think if we go back to the earlier discussion concerning the federal debt and the willingness of the Chinese to hold it or whomever, one of the really tricky issues going forward is going to be how the federal government might be a factor of presence in both the recovery and in the restructuring and promoting innovation or whatever. At the same time, it has to deal with a very large debt. And for people who look to the federal government for some help in terms of becoming self-sufficient, this could be a very difficult problem because as some federal policymakers will focus on the fact that the deficit and the underlying debt are very large, that we need to stop spending so much. And this will become an acute issue as we come out of the recession, where some will argue that now that we're coming out of the recession, the federal government doesn't need to spend so much. We can get the deficit down. And that means that there'll be some really tough choices about whether you raise taxes, which is one way to reduce the deficit, or you cut spending, and which programs get cut. Well, it's often easy for some politicians to point to programs that help low-income people just because they are discretionary and because they are easy targets. But it turns out that, of course, even though they are easy targets in their mind, they won't make a big dent in the deficit in the absence of looking across a number of other programs.
Now, David Walker, the former Controller General for the United States, like you've been screaming for years, and nobody was listening. He was once quoted as saying that America will fall like Rome. And Dr. Simms brings out some interesting points about this debt in terms of what people are paying attention to now. But my question for you is, do you think they're really listening? I mean, or will the spending just continue indefinitely until something really bad does happen?
Is who listening, I guess is the question. When you say, are they really listening, are you talking about politicians? Are you talking about the general public?
I'm talking about the politicians. I'm talking about the lawmakers, people who write and sign the checks that are being spent.
Gary, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Do you think the lawmakers are listening? Do you think that there's going to be some real change, or is it just going to continue to happen?
I don't know that. I don't know what goes in their mind. I just like to make a point to your earlier question and earlier comment. Bush wasn't running really for re-election, and if you need to know what the left and right were planning, all you have to do is just follow McCain's statement. And if you take a look, actually you mentioned CEO Quarterly magazine, and there's two articles one for Obama and one for McCain, and both of them talk about small businesses and how they are going to re-energize the American economic engine through small businesses. So they're more or less the same.
you bring up an interesting point. I want to take it back to the small businesses and how they are going to play a role. I mean, so give me some specifics in terms of what you think needs to happen. Is it direct aid? Is it loans? Is it credit? Is it some kind of a tax incentive for people to hire? What kind of a package do you foresee happening?
The answer is a new question. It is a combination of all tax holidays and incentives for new emerging industries, tax incentives for hiring more people, payroll taxes, reduction in payroll taxes, low-cost loans through SBA. These are the standard solutions that both parties would agree to. I really want to answer the point about the debt and how it can impact the public. There's actually two problems. You also asked one question that I didn't get a chance to answer, and that is, what are we missing? There's also talk about the debt, but what the impact of that debt is, that's what's missing. The size of that debt is what's missing. See, the government talks about $11 trillion in debt, and that's about 87% debt to GDP ratio. The actual debt is 680%. If you take into consideration the Social Security obligations, Medicare, Medicaid, government pension plans, government and military pension plans, it comes up to a huge 680%. So our debt is 6 times, or actually it's almost 7 times our GDP. What does that mean? That means most of our future GDP is going to be paid to service the interest rate, the interest payment for that debt. So that means less budget for education, for healthcare, for government and social services. And just like your guest mentioned, I think the budget would mean either they have to raise their taxes or they cut on the social services. The other solution would be for them to spend money. And what would happen if they keep spending money up in air is the dollar value is going to reduce, and we're going to have inflation, which is another form of tax. And that means the money that the retiree will get will not be sufficient or enough. And that results in them going back to the workplace and competing with the younger generation and having a crisis. So it's really a vicious cycle.